Saudi central bank really is the bank for the Saudi royal family. And it's interesting that David Bateman, I think is his name, this retired tech billionaire, young guy, he bought a lot of silver, and he said if 10 or 15 billionaires started buying physical silver, things could be very different in terms of price. Well, I would say the Saudi royal family, well, they're trillionaires, I would say. So look out. Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to look at silver today and whether central banks are going to start monetizing silver. And by monetizing, I mean starting to add on to their reserves, monetary reserves, add on silver, physical silver, which is something that only the Russian central bank or the finance ministry has been doing. Usually, central banks all around the world, the only precious metal reserve that they hold, and they've been adding on a lot to it, of course, in the last 3 years, is gold. But there is some proof, small proof, albeit, that a major central bank in the Middle East is starting to acquire silver. And I think that could be explosive, not just for the price, but just for the whole precious metals market. And I think it makes sense because if the world has to go back to having some kind of real money reserves, and I think that's becoming more and more clear, especially vis-a-vis the BRICS, but also vis-a-vis the US. There's a lot of talk of revaluation using gold as a reserve asset. It makes sense that they also use silver. It will provide more liquidity for not just the financial system, but for the economies. I think it's a no-brainer. Yes, silver is going to continue to be a very important industrial material or metal. But yeah, and that's what could drive the price a lot higher, the fact that central banks are going to start looking at silver. So talking about silver, yesterday morning or early afternoon, I drove over to Bromley. For those of you who don't know, Bromley is in Greater London. I am in the UK. And I went to my local coin and metal dealer. Yeah, he's not a bullion dealer, but he does get gold coins a lot of times, bullion coins. But his specialty is numismatics, not just coins, but metals and other things as well. And I've been dealing with Peter Morris in Bromley for over 20 years. I've moved from Bromley, but I live right near there. But it's not far from where I live now. So I went there because I love to look at the numismatic silver coins, gold coins, and yeah, I bought a few florins and shillings. They're not bullion, but he also had this here, a 10-ounce silver coin, which is beautiful, with St. George slaying the dragon. It's from 2018. So you can read here 10 fine ounces of silver, 999. And we've got Queen Elizabeth II, and it's the nominal or the face value is 10 pounds, doesn't really mean much. So I got a good deal because he doesn't charge VAT because these are secondhand for him. So I got it for 350 pounds, 10 ounces. And I looked at one of the major dealers that has usually competitive prices here. and they're selling it for with the VAT 408 pounds. So what I'm trying to say here is, yeah, there are ways to get sometimes silver on the cheap, so to speak. Yeah, so if you are in London, especially Southeast London, and you want to check out Peter Morris, yeah, Google Peter Morris coins and metals, and you find where he is. Well, he's actually at Bromley North train station. He has odd hours that he opens, so you might want to call on the phone, talk to him, or listen to the recording. So that's what I did yesterday. And I did this before the news came out. And what's the news about silver? Well, it hasn't even been reported in the news, but I have to thank actually SRS Rocco. And I've had SRS Rocco on the channel before a couple of years ago. And he posted on X, what central bank just became a significant buyer of a silver ETF, a new trend change? That's right. The Saudi central bank just took a large stake in SLV ETF. So there you go. It says here Saudi central bank. It was on the 14th of August. They bought 932,000 shares worth just over $30 million. So the Saudi central bank actually, I think, is called the Saudi Monetary Authority, or SAMA, but they've put it here as Saudi Central Bank. That's very significant, as I said earlier. And I wanted to find this online, so I looked for it because I always want to be 100% sure that these things are legitimate, even though I trust SRS Rocco. But anyway, I found it, and it's here. Where is it? There you go. Saudi Central Bank. That's how much they bought here. 932,000 shares. And I said the Russians, they started buying silver as well last year. I think they announced in September that they're going to start buying silver and platinum. So Kitco even covered it. When did they cover it? Oh, that's July this year. Russia's central bank may be boosting silver prices through undeclared purchases. Silver prices may be benefiting from undeclared but substantial buying by Russia's central bank, according to journalist Tim Treadgold. That's a good name, Treadgold. Silver is moving out of a long shadow cast by gold, its precious metal sister. Treadgold, I think it's more like a big brother gold, really, wrote in a Forbes article on Tuesday evening, with hints of a major new buyer, Russia's central bank, starting to influence the silver price, which has risen to 14-year highs. Yes, and yesterday, August 22nd, we closed at a 14-year weekly closing high. So yeah, they announced this in September last year. As you can see here, it plans to add silver to its state reserve fund for the first time. Yeah, I'm not saying here that all central banks now are going to start loading up on silver and that silver is going to go through the moon. But I think it's very interesting because Russia, as you know, is part of BRICS. Saudi Arabia is kind of on the fence. They are posted as being members of BRICS, but officially they're still kind of trying not to alienate the Americans. But I think this is a new trend, and I wouldn't be surprised to see also the Chinese and other banks central banks, maybe even India, starting to buy silver. So why SLV? I mean, you might wonder, can they take delivery? Well, I had a look at that. I had a look at the rules. Where I actually went on Chat GPT. I could have gone on the SLV prospectus, but this is what I found from Chat GPT about the SLV. SLV, it says, if you're retail investors, you cannot directly redeem those shares for physical silver bars. It's only authorized participants, only large institutional players, typically banks and market makers, designated as authorized participants can create or redeem SLV shares directly with the trust. So the limit, you have to do at least 50,000 shares. Well, the Saudis bought 930,000, I think, shares, and they bought 30 million worth of SLV. That's just under a million ounces of silver, which is basically, I think, let's do the maths here. Get my calculator out. Well, that's like 32, 32 tons of silver. It isn't that much, 32,000 kilos that the Saudis bought, but we need to keep an eye on this. That's very interesting. And we're going to look at some charts in a minute, but I want to talk about Jay Powell. It looks like he's folded under pressure from President Trump to cut rates. He came out yesterday and at Jackson Hole, and he said that they're ready to cut. He paved the way for a rate cut in September. And the markets reacted very positively, not just gold and silver and the miners, but also the stock market. But I still think that the stock market is kind of topping, despite the fact that yeah, I think the S&P closed at an all-time weekly or all-time high yesterday, and we could still make new highs. But I was reading some research by Michael Oliver, who's been following these markets for decades. And Michael Oliver, of course, he's the proprietor of Momentum Structural Analysis. And he came out with something yesterday. And if you want to subscribe to his service, I recommend you do. It's olivermsa.com. Just go have a look. I'll put a link below in the description. Sometimes I bring him on here on the channel when we talk about it. But basically, he was saying that back in 2007, on September 18th, actually, which happens to be the date for the FOMC meeting this year, the second day when they will announce most probably the cut. They also cut rates. Ben Bernanke cut rates by 50 basis points, which was a big surprise. And the market actually, stock market rallied for the next few weeks and made a new high, and everyone was really happy. But yeah, made a new high in October. But then for the next year to year and a half, the stock market collapsed. So what Michael Oliver is saying here is that by announcing that they're going to cut rates, yes, it was a little bit of a surprise, even though there's been a lot of pressure on him to cut rates by President Trump. Yeah, he's basically saying that there's something wrong in the economy because if there was nothing wrong, they wouldn't need to do this. And I'll quote Michael Oliver. He says, a question for investors is the initiation of the rate cut signaling that the party time begins due to a resumed flow of artificial liquidity? That's his question. The other question is, or that the party, more broadly speaking, is over. So consider whether central bank monetary excess will help or merely place a tombstone on the market, as MSA has argued, and also inject more fuel into monetary metals. And yesterday I spoke about this with Clive, and you can watch my video with Clive from yesterday. I'm going to put it up in the cards above here. I said that not just the bullion, gold and silver, but also GDX and SILJ, the gold and silver miners, they're looking very bullish in terms of the S&P. And yes, as Michael Oliver says, we could continue to make new highs and people are going to cheer, but he thinks we're very near a top. Of course, he's done momentum analysis. And yesterday I mentioned as well that there's a big divergence with the RSI and the S&P on the, I think it could be the weekly or daily chart. I don't remember, but you can watch my video from yesterday if you haven't yet. So I thought that was interesting from Michael Oliver. So let's look at the charts. First chart I'm going to bring up is the chart of gold, and it's a weekly chart. So let's bring that up. So as you can see, we're still in this consolidation. We've got like it's like a pennant forming. And next week, I've checked this overhead line here, trend line, is right around 3,400. That's in the spot price. So we're getting very close. We're getting very close to the market deciding whether it's going to go up or fail. Usually, and this is called a continuation pattern. Why continuation? Well, because since the beginning of the year, we saw, well, the trend has been higher. This is the first leg up here until April. So that's the move higher, then the consolidation. And in technical analysis, 3 out of 4 times, this consolidation resolves itself on the market, continuing the previous trend, which was up. So what I'm saying here, nothing in life or in markets are guaranteed, but there's a 3 in 4 chance. So that's how gold is looking on the weekly chart. Let's have a look at the S&P because we just spoke about it. So yeah, we made an all-time high here in the S&P, and Michael Oliver thinks we could keep moving a little higher, but he thinks we are near a major top, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And next, I want to look at silver, the weekly chart of silver. And silver as well, if you expand the chart here, as you can see, this is the highest closing weekly price, 38, well, almost 39 in the spot this year. And if you go back, if you stretch the chart back, it's actually the highest level since August 2011, so 14 years. So this is the level here that will probably trigger some stops. It's around 39.50. I think the high yesterday was, what was it, 39.06. So that's silver. Have I got anything else here? No, that's the gold price. Oh, let's look at the dollar index because that's not looking very good either. Not this chart I want. I want this one here. Yeah, this is the dollar index chart that I want. And you can see that it's been trying to, well, it's been consolidating here. It's been the opposite of gold. The trend has been lower this year, and then we've had a consolidation here. And it's fighting really hard to hold on to this trend line, which goes all the way back to, well, it's a long time, 2011 or so. But I think on a momentum basis, according to Michael Oliver, the dollar index is also losing momentum. So we could see a major move, major new leg, and that would help gold and silver massively come out of these consolidations. That's just a short-term thing because over the long term, gold will not really follow the dollar index. There's not a very good correlation. And why do I say that? Well, because back in 2008, the dollar index dropped to 70.69. That's the all-time low. And gold was at $1,000. And here we are now just below 100 in the dollar index, and gold is almost at 3,400. And if you go even further back to March 1973, when the dollar index was started trading, it started at 100, and gold was around $85. So over the long term, I would ignore the dollar index vis-a-vis gold direction. But in the short term, I think it could be what sparks the next leg up in gold. So that's how I see things. Yeah, one of the reasons for this is that I think the Fed now is going to aggressively cut. And I think we're going to actually see some really negative numbers for the economy. We've already seen the non-farm numbers be quite weak, like 70,000, and they revised the previous 2 months massively lower. And I think Jay Powell, I don't know if you saw the picture of him. Someone took the picture of him arriving at Jackson Hole Airport. He looked really rough. And a friend of mine watched his speech. I read the transcript, and he said he looked really beat, really under pressure. So I think he's given up now, and he's gonna let Trump have all his cuts. And if in a year or year and a half or so we've got massive price rises or inflation, he'll be out of there, and someone else will have to deal with it. And he always can say, I tried to tell him not to cut, and he did. Yeah, the other thing that I saw someone note is that they're dropping their inflation target, and I don't think that's true. What they're dropping is this long-term average, like methodology they were looking at, that they would let CPI rise above 2% as long as over the years it averaged 2%. That's what they're dropping, the Fed. That might sound very bullish for hard assets, that they're dropping the target, but they're not dropping the target. They noted that they have a 2% target, but I don't think they're going to follow that. And yeah, it's going to feel like a melt up in the next few weeks for everything. But I would be very careful with the general stock market. But I'm still very bullish the precious metals and hard assets, commodities in general, and also the miners. You might say, well, if the stock market corrects in the next year or year and a half, won't the miners do that either? Well, again, I'm going to tell you, watch my video with Clive yesterday, and I noticed and I showed in that video that the ratio between, for example, GDX and S&P are inversely related now. Yes, in the beginning of the year, when the markets dropped, general stock markets dropped, and up until like the third week of April, the precious metals miners were doing really well, and they're still doing well since then, despite the fact that the stock market is gone up. So I'm not telling people what to do or where to invest. I'm just saying that this is the way I think, and I'm holding on to my miners. I'm holding on to my physical. I'm adding on to a little bit of silver. I don't have the big pockets of the Saudi central bank, and Saudi central bank really is the bank for the Saudi royal family. And it's interesting that David Bateman, I think is his name, this retired tech billionaire, young guy, he bought a lot of silver, and he said if 10 or 15 billionaires started buying physical silver, things could be very different in terms of price. Well, I would say the Saudi royal family, well, they're trillionaires, I would say. So look out. That's the way I see it. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good weekend. And here in the UK, it's a long weekend. There's what we usually call a bank holiday. It's nothing serious. They just call all the holidays here bank holidays. So I wish my viewers in the UK a happy, long bank holiday weekend. Yeah, and there's Rudy. We've been out already, of course, this morning. It's a nice day. It's getting a bit cooler, but it's still nice. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye.